How's it going, everybody? This is Brian Funk. I make music as Afro DJ Mac, and I'm here for ADSR. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm an Ableton certified trainer. I run my site afrodjmac.com, and I host the Music Production Podcast. And today we're going to talk about Creative Extensions, a new pack from Ableton that's designed to expand the punch, color, and texture achievable with Live. It requires Max for Live and is for Ableton Live 10. It contains 5 audio effects, 2 instruments, and a melodic step sequencer, and it's quite a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the devices. First up is Pitch Hack. I'm going to play an 808 beat, and we're going to take a look at what Pitch Hack can do. It's basically a pitch type beat repeat delay kind of sound mangler. It's hard to describe it really, better off just listening to it. We can adjust the pitch of the sound with this giant pitch knob here. And we can have some sounds reverse. We can change the rate. And we've got this recycle control, which kind of creates like this feedbacking effect. And as you can hear, this is a really fun device for wild sound design and madness and mangling your sounds. Now let's have a look at gated delay, which is a sequence delay effect. Got our beat here. And we can add our feedback in a little bit. And we've got control over when we hear our delays. You hear some reversing in there. Some interesting effects. We've also got a nice random control. One of the nice things about a lot of these devices are the random controls. They look like a little set of dice, and you can just kind of click on these a couple times and start getting some interesting effects. I'll turn the dry wet up all the way. So you're hearing like those reverse sounds as well as some delays. Really an interesting device. We've got delay time as well as the sync as well. So a fun device. There's some nice presets to play around with. And you control how many steps there are, so that gives you some nice like polyrhythms when you have odd numbers compared to your beats. There it is, just kind of fading out into the distance. One of my favorite new devices is Color Limiter. This is a lot like the glue compressor in that it emulates hardware and allows you to get some gritty character that you would get on hardware controls, except it's a limiter. So it's really nice for saturation. I'm going to turn up the saturation control and add some loudness, which kind of pushes the device a little bit. And you can hear a lot of the weight coming out of my drums and giving it some power and distortion. We can color the saturation with a color control, get some darker sounds down here, and it gets a little bit brighter as we move up. This is a really nice sound design tool, but it can also be used to limit your tracks. Re-enveloper is a very interesting device. I'm going to play my 808. This is kind of like a multi-band compressor, except it's also a limiter too. We've got control over our bands here. We got A, B, C, D, and then we've got our controls here. So we can start cranking things up and playing around. So we can basically play around with the transients of our sounds. We can expand or compress them. And you can notice you can get some like overlap. And you kind of hear like the humming of my bass drum as I do this. And there's some nice presets that we can work with. So this is crushing the bass, the drum dryer, kind of taking out a little bit of the room noise here. We've got a hi-hat enhancer. So notice it's just focusing on the higher frequencies here. And we'll even have like a kick snap. And you can easily turn these bands on and off. Really interesting device, especially for shaping the sounds and the transients of each instrument that you have. Great for drums. To continue with the theme of interesting effects that will color your sound and do some odd sound mangling is Spectral Blur. I'm going to play this. We're on 100% wet. This is kind of like a far out alien reverb. You're able to control the bands that are affected. You can get this visual feedback. You've also got this residual control. You can add a little bit of volume to your wet. It's an odd type of reverb. We can hear some of the different presets here. So if you're kind of like tired of your normal reverbs, you can get some pretty cool effects with this. This is almost like an underwater sound. So definitely one for getting your sounds a little bit more experimental. The first of the new instruments is bass, and this is a monophonic bass synthesizer. It's designed to be kind of a virtual analog, and it's meant to get some really heavy bass tones, grumbling, thunderous basses. And right out of the gate here, it's a pretty cool sound on the init patch here. And it does come with some nice presets. And there's just a ton of power here. Get some classic analog sounds as well. So you'll see you got your different oscillators here. 4 oscillators and a sub. An analog control, which kind of dirties things up a bit. Play around with the subtone. We've got a filter section with some drive, which is really nice. Nice character on those filters too. I'll crank up the resonance a little. I think they sound great. Our envelope here. A lot of nice movement on the filter. And we then get into our modulation sections here. Distortion rounds it off. So if you want to kind of rattle the house, this is a really nice synth to be using, bass. And the other instrument is called Poly, and this is what it sounds like on one of the presets. Really nice virtual analog polyphonic synthesizer. Lots of depth to the sound. And a couple different oscillators you can add to here. Sub. Noise. There's even a ring modulator. You got this nice readout here to see what your wave looks like. We got LFOs. You notice they get up pretty high in the rates, up to 300 hertz, so you can get some audible sounds. We've got our filters. And we've got a nice modulation section too. Very similar to Wavetable. This matrix. Move around our filters a little bit. Even our pitch. Really get things crazy. Very easy to set up your modulation here. And probably the coolest part of this synth is its chorus section. I'm going to go to the kind of default patch here. Right. And lets you hear the different choruses. No chorus. This is a very extreme chorus. If I had to guess, I'm going to say these are probably like Roland Juno style choruses. A different preset here. A little bit of randomness to the chorus. No chorus. Very nice effect there. Then you got some other controls here. So Poly is a really cool synth to explore. Lots of great sound possibilities here. Very fun. And the final device we're going to look at is called Melodic Steps, and it's a melodic step sequencer. I've got it set up to play the bass instrument. Maybe I'll put our drums in here too. So what's really cool about this is all the kind of randomness to it. So we can adjust the octave that gets played back. We can adjust how many steps are in here. And it does say that they've sort of purposely not given us much control over the parameters because they want a sense of experimentation. And I think they've done a nice job with that because it's very interesting and difficult to know what you're going to get when you play with it. And that's sort of the idea, to generate some random ideas. And as you can see, you've got these random controls again that are useful for creating random stuff. I think this one is like a less random control, like a little bit random, and this is very random. We've got note length here. Again, we'll just play with the random. We've got velocity of our notes, and then chance. And chance is the likeliness of a step being played. So if we crank these all the way up, we should hear it all the time. We can turn this up, say we'll make this 16 long, and just kind of do something like this. Let's see what we get. We can set our scale, maybe this is a minor scale, as well as our root note. We can change the playback, make this go faster, make this go slower. This will allow for triplets. And we also get a swing too, which is kind of nice. And if we ever want to resync things, we just hit the resync button, and then all our playheads here will start back at the same spot. But part of what makes this interesting, and this is definitely a crazy pattern, part of what makes this interesting is that things start to get out of phase from each other, and we get these kind of polyrhythmic bass lines in this case, or melodic steps, playing back. Quite a lot of fun. We can even maybe make this higher, some higher notes in there. You can kind of control the center. So melodic steps is definitely very interesting if you want to come up with random ideas. I would recommend perhaps setting up an audio track and resampling these, and then finding the stuff you like and using that in your track. So there it is, our collection from Ableton called Creative Extensions. Thanks a lot for watching. My name is Brian Funk. I make music and stuff for DJ Mac. I'm here for ADSR. Please subscribe to the channel and have yourself a lot of fun playing with creative extensions.